And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news, share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening anywhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk, and on Prepper University. That is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, and Rumble, Coffee Talk 2. Miss Kitty in the background again, in the chair, getting herself settled in. And I'll go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have chosen to chime in so far. See, Bert is here. Bert says, no, it wasn't. Talking about the thumbnail. Brian is here. Jimmy, Helter, Raccoon, Dragon, Marvel Fan, Jeff. And for the record, got a new video up today on the Coffee Talk channel. Have a new video up yesterday on Prepper University and a new video up today on Coffee Talk elaborating on robots. And I didn't mention it in the video, but you saw the clip. You know, they have robots that will do road repair now. They drive around and identify cracks and potholes and fill and seal them. No crew. They just do it. Marvel Fan says a bunch of people tried to start a protest at the mall. Police showed up and had them so contained they marched for maybe 30 minutes and stopped. Interesting. So we get ready to jump off here. Before we get into the story related to the thumbnail, this is something breaking, and I wanted to touch on it really quick. It's a Daily Caller article. And there's Puck. Yeah, see no evil here, no evil speak, no evil indeed. Indeed. I give you a Bond villain. Yes, real-life Bond villain coming right up. Daily Caller, well-connected billionaire leveraged U.S. tax dollars to help Hamas gear up for October 7th. And there he is. And this guy evidently is Palestinian. That's what it says. Well, remember, Palestine's not a real place per se, as far as a country or a people group is concerned, because the people who live in that area are refugees from all over the Middle East that were forced in that direction by their collective governments, Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Lebanon and whoever kind of pushed them that way. And that's how they ended up there. They're not like an indigenous people. And I see Kimberly has joined us, as well as Dilo. Glad you could make it today. So Palestinian American billionaire helped lay the groundwork for Hamas 7 attacks. Families of American October 7 massacre victims are alleging in a new lawsuit Monday. Lawsuit targets Bashir Marsi, a Palestinian American billionaire who allegedly used his Gaza-based companies to quietly aid Hamas in building key infrastructure that would be used in the conflict, including tunnels, buildings for high-level meetings, and even power generation. Some of the construction was done using taxpayer funds, according to this lawsuit, which pointed to funds doled out by the United States Agency for International Development, aka USAID. And that's how they found out about this. Incredible. USAID. Gotta love it. Quote, by actively, and this is out of the claim, I believe, by actively working with Hamas to build and maintain its attack and tunnel infrastructure while simultaneously advancing Hamas's campaign of deception, defendants aided and abetted and conspired with Hamas and the October 7th attack and the deaths of soldiers and civilians thereafter, were a foreseeable consequence of defendants' collaboration with Hamas, according to the lawsuit. Incredible. The billionaire has rejected the allegations. Of course, he's not going to admit it. Oops, hold still. This damn thing. With Marcy's office telling the New York Times he was shocked to learn through the media that a baseless complaint was filed today referring to false allegations against him and certain businesses that he might have associated with. Oh, I see. He had no idea what they were doing. Quote, this is from his office, neither he nor those entities have ever engaged in unlawful activity or provided support or violence and militancy, according to Marcy's office. Defendants in the case include the Palestine Development and Investment Company, Palestine Real Estate Investment, Palestine Industrial Estate Development Company. The plaintiffs, allege in the lawsuit Marcy used his holding company, Marsar International Limited, to secure U.S. tax dollars for his construction and development companies. Marsar International did not respond to questions. Of course not. I got a question. Why is an international billionaire construction mogul getting USAID funding at all? Why does he get USAID funding? Yeah, Puck says Jordan too, correct. Because they were thrown out of all those countries and they just kind of ended up in Gaza. They were pushed that way on purpose. I've mentioned it before, and you can find the video footage of this, an interview with the Iranian president in the mid-70s, admitting that they did it on purpose because they knew that those collective people, oh, how did he put it? I forget how he termed them, but basically unsavory, unwanted people would be a burden on Israel. They did it on purpose, and it's worked. Tuck says that's interesting. Funds doled out by USA during Biden and Harris. Yes. And Fluke Man has joined us. Joined us here today. So yeah, here I give you, who is it, Zorn? Would he be Zorn or would he be, what's the other one? There's a bunch of Bond villains that are pretty good. Blofeld? He's more like Blofeld, I would think. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible that this sort of thing goes on. And again, why is a multi-billionaire Palestinian / American construction mogul who is doing construction in, I imagine, the United States as well as overseas, because he's not making billions doing it in Palestine or in Gaza. Why is he getting USAID funding? Why is he getting that kind of funding? That doesn't make any sense to me. You know who's another really interesting, and again, we're going to get to the story related to the thumbnail in a little bit here. Puck says USAID employees should be arrested over this. We'll see. And Sven says America is actually the largest state sponsor of terror, USAID and the rest. And that's what it ends up looking like, or that's what it ends up being, because they find ways around, or there are crooked politicians who allow this sort of thing to slip through the cracks. Or they set something up hoping to have an opportunity to retaliate so that they can make themselves look like the bad guy. It's terrible. It's terrible. You know, another interesting Bond villain is Drax. And Drax was the Bond villain from Moonraker, if you remember Moonraker. And it's kind of funny because it's one of those things where when you grow up, you find yourself more so identifying with the villain. Have you ever done that? Have you ever gotten older and you look at something and then you find yourself identifying with the villain more than the hero in a movie or a TV show? And you're like, hey, now, wait a minute. Like Skeletor from Masters of the Universe. Skeletor wasn't necessarily the bad guy. If you really think about it, if you know the whole story of Skeletor having been Keldor first, and Randor, he's actually Randor's brother, and Randor cheated him out of the throne. So yeah, of course he's been turned into a villain. But Drax is kind of like Elon Musk in Moonraker. He's got his own space agency. He's sending up rockets, and what he's trying to do, he's sick of the world. He's sick of people. He thinks people are evil and stupid, and so he handpicks the best of the best, the cream of the crop of human beings, honest and hardworking and physically fit and intelligent, and he basically builds a Noah's Arks with space shuttles and brings them to a space station, and he's going to use a nerve gas to basically kill the entire planet. Just people, though. It only affects human beings, not animals, and not plants. And then bring them back and start over. And I'm like, yeah, you don't have the right to make that choice, but I understand why you did it. I understand why you did it. Oh man, that's just insane. You get to a point where you become older and you realize, I get it now. I get it now. And Raccoon says that she met the guy who played Jaws at a convention, Richard Kiel. Richard Kiel. He was only ever really in 2 films, but he's remembered very well. It was Moonraker and the one right before it, The Spy Who Loved Me. The Spy Who Loved Me. He was only ever in those 2, and he only spoke one line at the very end of Moonraker when he was with his little girlfriend, Dolly. The girlfriend's name was Dolly. Puck says maybe USAID was funding Obama's JV team and ISIS too. Who knows? It could be. As they dig far enough back, that may be discovered. Brian says some people think Hitler wasn't the bad guy. Well, that I'm not too sure about. He got away with a lot. He got away with a lot of real evil stuff. But I think it's more easier to say Hitler's not the only bad guy in that situation. Stalin turned out to be much worse and continued to get away with it after World War II. And Flukeman said Latasha Brown, an Allentown City Hall employee, dialed 9/11 after finding a noose on her desk. Her DNA proved late that Brown had allegedly placed the noose herself. Incredible. Tuck wants to know if he was in Happy Gilmore. I don't think I saw Happy Gilmore. So maybe someone else can answer that. Richard Kiel, that is. Big dude. Yeah, and Kimberly suggests Stalin was horrendous. Yeah. And one more here, and then we'll get to the meat of this story. Sven says Vietnam asked for our help to break free of France. For some reason, we stuck with the turds in France. So this is pertaining to the thumbnail, this next one coming up here. And there's a lot to unpack with this as you find out more and more. And their GoFundMe is like cranking. Every time they reach the GoFundMe goal, they move the goalpost, by the way, and it's getting up there. And this is a Fox News article. It says new lawyers for Texas teen stabbing suspect seek a lower bond and ask the public not to rush to judgment. And currently, donations for Karmelo Anthony have reached 218,000 after police report reveals new details about the stabbing. So it's currently at 218,000. Okay. Let me close that. I'll try to. Oh, I hate when it does this. I don't want to see the video track. It says newly hired attorney for Karmelo Anthony accused of stabbing teen track star. Getting a little befuddled there. Austin Metcalf to death at a track meet in
let's bring in former NFL player Jack Brewer. And Jack, we've heard this.
Okay. That's what I was trying to avoid right there. And asking the public to be patient, not rush to judgment in the case. Karmelo and the entire Anthony family are sincerely saddened that a life was lost and offer their condolences to the family of Austin Metcalf, according to the statement from Bill Clark of the Clark Law Firm and Kim Cole of K. Cole Law, Anthony's new legal defense team. The family also asked that the public not jump to conclusions. Now, this is interesting. This is and Puck says rush to judgment. Yeah, that's already been done. It's already been done. That's interesting because, firstly, I guarantee you it's the attorneys told them to say this because it just looks bad, the public opinion that's coming from certain aspects of American culture right now. And that would make the family the only ones saying that it's a tragic loss. I've been seeing this stuff on social media all day long. I've been seeing it on social media all day long with people, black activists primarily, sitting there saying, too bad, so sad, he got what he deserved, you know, whatever, okay? He got what he deserved. Karmelo told him not to touch him. That's what happens. This is what people are saying in these social media posts. They're being really evil about it, and that's why I put that in the thumbnail. Is that even justified? Allegedly, this kid pushed you because you wouldn't leave the tent. I don't know what their argument was. Maybe there's something revealed here. So he goes someplace he's not supposed to be, dude. They get into some sort of a verbal confrontation. The other kid pushed him. And so somehow it's justified to go straight to lethal response. This is the question. This is the question. Fluke Man said that they heard Karmelo doesn't even go to that school. Not sure if he was invited to be there. And Puck said, yes, their attorneys are having to coach them because their true nature would be revealed. Exactly. As we move down here. Okay, quote again, during this difficult time, we urge the public to refrain from rushing to judgment before all the facts and evidence are present. Karmelo, like all citizens of the United States, is entitled to a fair and impartial legal process. That's definitely attorney coaching right there. We are committed to ensuring that Karmelo's rights are indeed protected through each phase of the criminal justice system. Clark and Cole confirmed in the release they are seeking to reduce Anthony's bond, which is currently at $1 million. And the bond is set that high. What that tells me is when a bond is set that high, this kid's family already has money. A high bond is typically set when the judge thinks there is a risk that that person could be bailed out and he doesn't want them to be. So this kid isn't coming from, I'm assuming this person's coming from money. John Boy is here. As we continue on. Is that Anthony faces first-degree murder and is being held in Collin County Jail. And it goes on to say this will certainly be a long road ahead, and during the challenging time, we ask for prayers for both families, and we ask for your patience and respect for the legal process as we seek the truth. I hate that whole prayer nonsense because that's just something that people say now. Oh, I'm going to pray for you. Very few people actually mean it. Metcalf, 17, a junior at Memorial High School in Frisco, stabbed to death after an altercation during a championship track meet in Frisco on Wednesday. Dispute arose over a seating arrangement inside that tent. According to the arrest report obtained by Fox News, Metcalf told Anthony he needed to leave the Memorial High School tent before Anthony grabbed his bag, opened it, and reached inside it, and then said, quote, touch me and see what happens. Now, this is what's interesting, and this is witness accounts. All right. And this is what I don't understand. He's in the wrong tent. Just break this down really quick. According to the arrest report, we'll go back to this again. Metcalf, that is the victim, told Anthony he needed to leave the Memorial High School tent before Anthony grabbed his bag. So Metcalf is standing there. Anthony grabs his backpack, takes Metcalf's backpack, opened it and reached inside, and then said, "Touch me and see what happens." If this is a clear account, Anthony is clearly instigating a confrontation. Austin stood up, this is still from the report, and pushed Anthony, pushed Karmelo in order to get him out of the tent. The first person to confront Anthony was a school resource officer, according to the report, and whereby Anthony is quoted as telling this person, "I was protecting myself because he put his hands on me." Anthony was handcuffed at the scene. He had blood on his hand. Also, he was quoted as saying in a spontaneous statement after the officer said on his radio, "I have the suspect, alleged suspect." Karmelo says, "I'm not alleged, I did it." And that's confirmed. And Monkey has joined us. Tuck says, "Going by my income and assets, my bond to be $100. Oh no. And Flukeman says Metcalf asked Anthony to move because he was sitting on his seat, and it just carried on from there. And I would gather to say that he did that on purpose. He went somewhere he wasn't supposed to be and sat somewhere he wasn't supposed to sit on purpose. Witness accounts, he took Metcalf's bag and rifled through it and said, "Touch me and see what happens." And you're not going to get touched. Another teenage boy isn't going to go after you for taking his property. And somehow pushing him escalates to being stabbed in the heart, like immediately. Kimberly said, "Did you know there's an agency that will come to your house in this type of crime telling you what to say and what not to say?" That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me at all. It said he also asked the officer, listen to this, whether Metcalf would be okay and whether his actions could be considered self-defense. Like that officer's going to answer that question. He can't. Meanwhile, donations and comments of support for Anthony continue to pour in to the Give, Send, Go online fundraiser set up by the family. The Help Karmelo official fund, as of the time of this article, I don't know what it's at now, has garnered more than $218,000 in donations. Quote from the family, "It's not much, but I hope it helps." Oh, no, that's not a quote from the family. I'm sorry. It's from a donor. I guess that's their donor. They're quoting donors. I don't care about that. Let me see here. That's all this says. That's all the article says. I had read another article where they spoke briefly to Karmelo's father. Okay. They spoke briefly to Karmelo's father, who said, and I think I remember this quote, that he was a sweet kid, and that he, I think he said, if I'm paraphrasing this correctly, that he got good grades in school. Another thing I'm tired of hearing from people. I'm tired of hearing that every time something happens like this. Doesn't matter, black community, white community, Hispanic community. "Oh, he was a good kid. Oh, he got good grades." He got good grades, but people graduating from that school can't read, can't do math. He was a sweetheart. He was a good kid. He was just finding his way. They all say that. I'm tired of hearing it. Kimberly says, I'll find the name of it and send it to you. And League of Smoke has joined us. And Puck says all the support's coming from from like-minded racists that hate white people. I could totally understand that statement, especially again after what I've been seeing in the social media from people that are talking about how, oh, he had it coming, he deserved it. He deserved it. We've just read the entire account, the basic account. This is what the witnesses in that tent said. He came in, he sat down somewhere. Metcalf says, hey, you're not supposed to be here. You know, could you take it somewhere else? It's been suggested that the two of them had already had some sort of confrontation at some other point. Then that tells me that Karmelo came there on purpose. If they have had a confrontation in the past, Karmelo came there on purpose to stir shit up. He came and sat somewhere he wasn't supposed to be to stir things up with this other kid. Took his bag, started digging in his bag, and says, I dare you to touch me and see what happens. That's the quote. Touch me and see what happens. Daring Metcalf to do something about having his property violated. Metcalf pushes him, a knife is produced, and he's stabbed in a fatal way. So it sounds to me like Karmelo came there to start that problem. Whatever was going on with them in the past, I don't know. Does it justify homicide? I doubt it. If they came there and they had a fist fight, whatever, I don't care. Seriously, because that happens. I've been in plenty of fist fights in junior high and high school. If they both had a knife, that could be a different situation. To me, that sounds like a duel. John is here. He says, cat power. Yeah, I have Miss Kitty with me, as well as Guardian prepping. ARN says the two toughest guy in school got good grades because I helped them cheat in math. Oh, no. Lookman says, all those saying Metcalf deserved it, laughing about it, wouldn't be half as mouthy if they were there to witness it for themselves. All the blood crying and desperation for help, they would shit their pants. Well, not only that, but if you were to reverse this, they would have something different to say. Let's switch roles between Metcalf and Anthony. And the white kid came in there and sat in the wrong tent in the wrong seat. And then when he was asked to leave, took the other kid, took Anthony's backpack and started digging through it and said, I dare you to do something. Touch me and see what happens. And Metcalf stabbed Anthony. Oh, man, you'd have cars burning in the street right now. Demanding justice. He should have $100 million bail. They would demand justice. You'd have Al Sharpton to be out there screaming his head off. That's what would happen. And that's the problem. And it's a very tribal mentality. Very tribal mentality. And you've heard me talk about this before. Follow me here. It's an analogical thought process that is connected to tribal mentality that you see in the Middle East, certain parts of Africa, and certain parts of Asia. Okay? And that tribal mentality has a shame-honor system concept connected to it. And shame-honor, in that sense, and in the sense of analogical thought, is not the same as like you feel ashamed because of something. It's because you were embarrassed by something. Someone did something that you were embarrassed by, so you carry shame, and the only way to get rid of it in an analogical thought process or in a tribal system is to reclaim your honor. How do you do that? You reclaim your honor by getting revenge. And we're seeing a lot of this penetrating into the Western world, and especially within these communities, unfortunately. That's what Srenwitz, I don't know if I pronounced that right. He says Kyle Rittenhouse didn't take a rifle to protest to shoot anyone, right? And Kimberly says it would be another BLM movement all over again. Kyle Rittenhouse was hired to guard a parking lot. And Brian says actor very tall, had name in the 2 movies. His jaws had steel teeth, and yes, he was in Happy Gilmore. Oh, we're still on that. Okay, yeah, Richard Kiel, Jaws in those films. The only way that you can reclaim it is to the only way you can get rid of that embarrassment or shame is by reclaiming it through honor, and that's typically through revenge. And it can go on for generations. And when you see in the Bible, when Yeshua, that is Jesus, is talking about turning the other cheek, about those who transgress against you, this is actually what's being talked about. When you go back and you translate it from the Greek, that's what's actually happening, is because they are a shame honor society. They're tribal society. Obviously, they're tribes, and they have an analogical thought system rather than rational logical, which I sometimes doubt we get rational logical in Western society. Instead of continuing to go back on it, looking for revenge at any cost, by the way, at any cost. Because it will lead to generational curses, and you'll have people fighting forever. And there are feuds going on in the Middle East right now, for example, that have been going on for centuries in some cases, and they don't even know what they're fighting about anymore. Tribe against tribe. That's what that's really kind of about. Let it go. You know, is it really worth it to risk your life or someone else's because you feel embarrassed about something? Seriously. And that's what we're seeing a lot of in Western society now, where, okay, I'm justified. I'm upset about something else. I'm upset about something else that happened between us, transpired between us at another time. And so I'm going to come and start a fight with you so that I can have an excuse to cause you great bodily harm. And in this instance, it cost him his life. ARN says gangster rap was created by the CIA. The music demands retaliation. I've heard that argument. And Puck says his defense will be, I got dissed. That's what Jason Whitlock said. I watched yesterday Jason Whitlock talking about this same subject. He's a big YouTuber. And he went on and on about what he called diss culture. Diss culture, where if you feel like you got, quote, dissed, then you feel justified in doing damn near anything to seek revenge on that individual. But that looks like that's where we're at. That looks like that's where we're at. I mean, if the two, and it's a shame that, again, lethal response is not outside the realm of possibility because your feelings were hurt about something or whatever was going on. And again, I don't know what it was, but it's been alluded to that there may have been a prior confrontation at some other date. What could have possibly happened? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait until court to find out what that might have been. And again, there's $1 million bail. They're trying to get the bail reduced. But typically, from a legal standing, when you see a judge throw a bail that large on somebody, it's because they feel like the family could afford a really heavy bail in the first place, and he wanted to make sure they wouldn't do it, and B, that there might actually be a flight risk. And ARN says track meet competition. Is that what the other confrontation was about? Because I haven't seen it. And then there's the old argument, and again, a quote from his father, which I read in another article, that he was a sweet kid. His words, sweet kid. And then he said something else akin to he got good grades or something like that. And I'm so tired of that old argument. I'm really tired of that argument. Every time something like this comes up, oh, he was a guy. He was a good guy. Sure, he was. But stabbing someone to death is not outside the realm of possibility in a situation that at best called for a fist fight. At best called for a fist fight. And this whole situation has really overshadowed another big incident that people have been buzzing about that's taken place in the news. I don't know if you remember this. This is going to be a People magazine article, actually. I'll read one more from Fluke Man here, and we'll get into the meat of this one. Fluke Man says the tribal mentality imported from other countries in social media. We used to believe wars, viruses, alien invasion, and etc. to be our greatest downfall, but it's the overuse of technology. And Nature Nerd says China to launch digital currency. I think this is a bad idea because digital transactions should be pegged by physical currency. I think it should too. And Moki has joined us. We get into this People magazine. You may have heard this, and it's been overshadowed by this whole Carmelo Anthony thing. Georgia dad who went viral after leaving his 3 kids at McDonald's for a job interview was doing something else. Saw that coming. Have you seen this in the news? The Georgia father, he had 3 kids. The oldest was 10. He left them in a McDonald's, and the police were called because he left them in the McDonald's to be babysat there. And he claimed, well, hell, I had to go to a job interview. I didn't know what else to do. And they have been arguing about this on all through social media and all through like mainstream media networks for days, getting on all kinds of experts, bringing in counselors and social workers and teachers and interviewing them and asking them questions. And, since he was trying to get a job, and is it okay? And there was a 10-year-old and they were in a safe location and all that. Is that okay? That's incredible. But all that speculation was for naught, because turns out that's not where he was. He lied. And Kimberly says, yeah, he wasn't going to a job interview. And JD says, do they have a picture of the guy, and betting it's one of the usual suspects? There is a picture, I think, in this article, and I will show it. That's the alleged McDonald's in question. And I don't know where it is because they all look the same. It says, when a Georgia father was arrested after allegedly leaving his young children unattended at McDonald's, he received a swell of support online after he told deputies he had been on a job interview. But now police said he wasn't on a job interview. Chris Luis, 24, arrested in Georgia March 22nd after his kids 10, 6, and 1 were left at the McDonald's for over an hour. Actually, I had heard it was more than 2 hours. I don't know which is correct then. People magazine is saying over an hour, but I heard it was more than 2. I don't know if anyone else heard different. Okay. So, and that's really where it gets wonky, because he left a 1-year-old in with this mix. And I'll point out also, to the best of my understanding, it's not legal to leave a child under the age of 12 unattended basically anywhere. If I remember this correctly, and this comes from when I used to work for juvenile justice. Okay. So let's see here. He said Lewis was charged with deprivation of a minor, which is a misdemeanor. As the report of his arrest circulated, support for Lewis grew, with many online arguing he had been trying to support his children by going to a job interview. Former NFL star Antonio Brown set up a GoFundMe for Lewis, which is so far, as of the time of this article, raised $78,000. And this is a quote from Brown from the NFL. Story caught me by surprise. A dad just trying to find a way to make money for his family. I know he shouldn't just leave his kids, but some people don't have the means for babysitting. This GoFundMe is set in place to help this man. Isn't that sweet? I wish somebody had set me up a GoFundMe. Holy shit. It seems like people just, if I set a GoFundMe up, I have done GoFundMe to help with the cats, but I'm not making no like 60, 70, 100, $250,000 with it. Puck says he was loving it. Exactly. And Puck said, where was he? With a hooker, gambling, doing drugs? Probably. Probably. Police claim security footage. Is this it? Hold on. Okay. It skipped ahead. It jumped. In the police report, authorities say Lewis was not at a job interview while his kids were at McDonald's, but Lewis had been to a job interview, but it was earlier in the day. Okay, so speaking to the eldest son, 10-year-old Chris stated, 10-year-old child stated her father, Chris Lewis, and her two siblings to the apartment. He was going to return about, that's where it gets confusing. So he told the 10-year-old, this is from the police report. He told the 10-year-old he had to go back to the apartment complex to drop off a backpack, but that he would return shortly. The child mentioned her father frequently would leave them alone like that. Police confirmed that Mr. Lewis had been there to apply for a job, and that she conducted an informal interview with him at that time. Demonstrated that he left that hotel at 1:30 in the afternoon, but wasn't at the McDonald's until 4:30. So there you are. So he ditches these kids like that all the time. And he's not even honest with them about what he's doing. Oh, snap. I've got to go back to the apartment complex and drop off this bag that I have. I thought his picture was in here. Did they remove it? His picture was in this article. It's not here now. It's gone. Because I didn't read the whole thing, but I did look at it. And his picture's gone from this article. That's incredible. Let me close this because I'm having a connectivity issue. That's incredible. So he left them there and frequently leaves them. He said he was at a job interview, but he wasn't. But there's been a lot of speculation. About whether or not it was justified for him to do that, based on the fact that he said he was going to a job interview, which is why he left them at the McDonald's. And again, the biggest concern is that one of those children was only 1 year old. One of those children was only 1 year old. we get away from all that and jump to an ABC News article. This is really interesting and scary. This is actually kind of scary because it makes you wonder where they're going to go next with it. I don't know if you've seen this. Make sure that pops up. Dire wolf revived after 10,000 years due to a biotech company's de-extinction process. And here they are. That's a pair of dire wolf pups who have been extinct for over 10, but they're back. In a scientific breakthrough that could forever change how humans eat our planet, Colossal Biosciences, I love that title, said it has brought back an extinct animal that last walked the earth 10,000 years ago, aka the dire wolf. The US-based biotechnology company is also known for its ambitious goal of bringing back the woolly mammoth. That's their next project. They're going to bring back the woolly. Get that to open right. It says, we're not a foundation, we're not a nonprofit, we are an academic think tank. We are trying to actually develop products and bring technologies. Colossal says its investors include Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, Paris Hilton, and Peter Jackson. In March, the company revealed the woolly mouse. I remember that, a new type of mouse with a thick coat of fur modeled after the woolly mammoth. ABC News was given exclusive access to Colossal's Dallas, Texas laboratory where the dire wolf went from an idea to a reality. So we're talking Jurassic Park level sciences here. And Flukeman says, why didn't their dad take the kids with him to the apartment? If he really was at the job interview, he could have taken them there too. It wouldn't have looked good, but he would have shown he's a dedicated father, because that's not what he was doing. Not what he was doing. Brian says, I bet the only job he ever got was from affirmative action. I have no idea. Kimberly said, did Jurassic Park teach us nothing? Yeah, well, yeah, you learned how to do it right. You learned how to do it right. Marvel fan says, best not to bring back animals from thousands of years ago. I've seen these movies. And Nash says, didn't they make a movie about this? Correct, Jurassic Park, which is, I think that's what a lot of people are going to reference now. Marvel fan says, first AI scare, now animals. I fear something bad will happen someday from this. Yeah, that is scary. That's genetic modification. They've resurrected a deceased species, a complete deceased species, because that opens up the possibility for a lot of other problems. Where do you stop? What else do you try to bring back? What else do you try to modify? Maybe splicing humans with different types of animals to make hybrids. It's not outside the realm of possibility if you can do this. Dragon said, humans playing God, what could go wrong? Yeah, that's all we're doing with that's all that we're doing with AI. That's all they're doing with AI. Playing God. And you can't trust that stuff. The AI already lies. It's deceitful. They've caught AI lying and manipulating things. They're worse than people. JD, yeah, what could go wrong? Let's make man-eating dinosaurs. And Marvel fan says, clone our bodies and do brain transplants into younger bodies. I could see this coming. Yeah, that's not outside the realm of possibility. That's not outside the realm of possibility. But that's why this is important. I mean, because where do you stop? They did this. Next, they want to bring back a woolly mammoth. And then what? Saber-toothed tiger? Neanderthal man? I mean, what's next? That's scary. That's very scary. Yeah, and there you go. Puck says they were they've been talking about resurrecting woolly mammoths for years, but now they're on the brink of actually doing it. And Brian wants to know how long AI has been around. It depends on what kind of AI you're talking about, because I've mentioned it before. Auto text, when you're texting or typing and it tries to correct you, is technically a form of AI, and that's been around for at least 20 years, and it still doesn't work right. It still doesn't work right. But now it's pretending to be a person on a text message or a phone call, which is scary. Yeah, there you go, Monkey. Full Metal Alchemist is another one too, where one of the scientists made Chimera dog with a mixture of her daughter and his dog. Truly disturbing. And I could see someone experimenting with that. New York Post article, and this is something I talk about all the time. Harvard University, the Ivy League, teaching remedial math. That's right. Harvard University has opened up remedial math classes because they're having too many problems with students unable to do basic math. It says Harvard might be America's most elite university, but now it's offering remedial math classes. The school's math department is providing a new scaled back math class for freshmen who are apparently arriving on campus lacking foundational skills in high school math basics like geometry and algebra. Harvard is quick to blame these math gaps on, get ready for it, pandemic learning losses. But in truth, administrators themselves by scrapping standardizing testing requirements during the pandemic, all in the name of equity. Without any SAT or ACT scoring, no wonder kids without basic math skills were able to slip through the cracks. The school should have seen it coming. And I mean, they can sit there and blame the COVID era, because this is what Harvard is basically doing. They're saying, oh, because of COVID. This has been a problem in public school long before the pandemic. Okay? Long before that. This has been a public school problem for the last couple of decades at its finest. It's been going on longer than that, but at least the last couple of decades, it's been really bad. Okay? It may have accelerated during COVID, but that doesn't mean that you can blame COVID for it. And now you're at the point where you have to have remedial math because the kids that are coming in can't take your required classes. So they got to go all the way back to basics and start with stuff that they should have learned in elementary school. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, fractions, weights and measures. That's remedial. So that they can work their way up to where they're supposed to be. And then on top of it, as is suggested in the New York Post article, you took away SAT and ACT requirements. So now you can't even filter those kids out to find out whether or not they can do it before bringing them into the school. And you know that in public school, there's problems with reading and math, period, all across the board in every state. All across the board in every state. And Marvel fan said, "This is crazy but true. So many 20-year-olds I know aren't very smart." Yeah, Puck, COVID. That's it, everything is there is because of the virus. Everything it's that you blame you're still sitting there blaming that for your problems. This was going on long before that. It may have accelerated during that time, but it was already there. It was already there. But this is what we're at. This is where we're at. Luke Man says, "We know AI is dangerous. What are the government going to do about it? Nothing as usual. Let the shit flow like they do with everything else." Yeah, it is dangerous. It is dangerous, and they ought to walk it back. They need to quit trying to develop it. Kimberly says, "Remedial math at Harvard almost sounds like an oxymoron." And Puck says, Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Carnival 9 fourth act was about AI. Well, they've been worried about that for a long time. People just weren't paying attention. A really great example of this is the film Colossus, which I think is 1971. If you've never seen it, it's a great movie. And it's actually the people who created Terminator took Colossus and Westworld and kind of merged them together to come up with the film The Terminator. So, yeah, if you've never seen Colossus, check it out. I think it was 1971. Really well done film. Scary. Scary. The way things are revealed there, the way things unfold in the film Colossus. But that's what we've come to. Remedial classes at Harvard. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't happen. And Puck remembers it. He said it's a great movie. It is a great movie. And it leaves you hanging at the end. We can coexist, but only on my terms. And when you've got a machine that controls everything, what are you going to do? Except destroy the machine. But we've been seeing that warning in movies and television, actually going all the way back to the Twilight Zone. Off the top of my head, the earliest I can think of would be some episodes of the Twilight Zone warning about that sort of thing. And that's digging. That's going back. So they've been worried about that for a while. They've been worried about that for a while, just nobody listened. Nobody listened. Everybody thinks they can control it. I'll manage it. I'll control it. I just got to tweak it just right and it'll be cool. It'll work so great if I can just get it to cooperate. But it does, are you sure it is? Nature Nerd says AI takes the average of the information it has access to instead of what you actually search. And Max says, love the movie Colossus and the Forbidden Project. Oh yeah, the Forbidden Project. That's right. That's the surname, Colossus, the Forbidden Project. Correct. Taking a look at the debt clock really quick. See where we are at, and Doge projection currently at $294 billion. Slowly but surely creeping up on $300 billion in savings. Tariff tax revenue projection currently, it's still at $658 billion. I don't think it's moved too much. The tariff projection is moving a lot slower than the Doge clock for now. Keeping in mind, a lot of that has not gone into effect yet. JD says, doesn't Harvard pick from the top of the top? It's not like they're taking the kids that normally go to public state-funded university. That has changed over the years. That has changed over the years. I mean, yeah, if you're test in, but if you're not going to take your ACTs or SATs, if there's no testing to verify that you're any good at what you do, then they don't know until it's too late. So yeah, things have changed at Harvard University. Things have changed at universities across the entire country. There's a lot of influence from government funding that has been getting chipped away at by the current administration. There's a lot of influence from foreign funding. A lot of money was going into, we've talked about it at length because we read the articles, into colleges and universities all across the country for the last 10 years, even from the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, and Iran, and other places that have no business sending money to universities in the United States. And it made them soft. It made them soft. But with that, we are at the top of the hour. Again, you are listening to and/or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, as well as Coffee Talk 2, number 2 on Rumble. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will catch you again tomorrow.